Hello, Rams. Happy Monday and welcome to the Monday Night Sports Show. I'm Brian Buck.
And I'm Sydney Wicker. This weekend was action-packed for CSU, but first, let's get started with football.
The CSU Rams football team had lofty goals and a myriad of question marks entering the 2018 season. Grad transfer quarterback KJ Carter-Samuels was slated to lead a group of wide receivers that measure and practice like NFL guys, but in any single season had combined stats never surpassing 702 yards. An entirely new defensive staff and scheme from top to bottom on top of that, and any reasonable fan of CSU or of its opponents is better off throwing metrics, stats, and predictions in the air like pieces of a piñata. Mix in a backup quarterback less than 6 months removed from ACL surgery, but having just been voted team captain, and nobody could tell you what this team would be. Fast forward 2 weeks to September 1st, and the script on the season was already in the mail. A defense that had no pulse and an offense that can't keep up. After Saturday night, I'm back to toting a blindfold and swinging away at a who knows what the stuffing is piñata. But for Ram fans out there was one piece of candy that did fall out last weekend, and the packaging reads Southeastern Conference, and it tastes like a win. KJ Carter-Samuels was deadly accurate in the second half on Saturday. He was 22 of 27 for 291 yards. Most of those balls went to Preston Williams, who caught the first touchdown of the game for the Rams there, followed quickly in the end of the start of the fourth quarter by Preston Williams here again, who had 2 touchdowns, 12 catches, 154 yards. The defense stepped up big as well, and Emmanuel Jones gets the sack here on Corey Kelly, who had 1 interception and 2 sacks on the game for Jones. The defense helped the offense continue to push, and as the game got late, KJ Carter-Samuels made great throw after great throw, again, especially to Preston Williams. Williams there grabbing the ball, pulling it off of the ground. Just an exceptional grab. And the running game for the Rams, which really wasn't effective for the majority of the game, ended up sealing the deal for them as Izzy Matthews runs in from 2 yards out and scores the game-winning touchdown with just 8 seconds remaining for this Rams offense. Here's what we know. Preston Williams is a next-level playmaker, and Arkansas alum and Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones was a witness to that. KJ Carter-Samuels could survive a collision with a train after handling the beating he's taken in the past 3 weeks, and this Rams defense is capable of being great. It would be foolhardy to try and guess what that all means for the 9 games remaining on the slate for the Rams football team, but I know myself and plenty of CSU fans are intrigued enough to at least separate our fingers from over our eyes and gaze with hopeful anticipation. And a request that the entire fan base is getting behind. Let's keep the white bone-horn helmets around for a while. After Saturday, they just might be good luck.
They might be good luck, Brian. I think you're right on that. After the game on Saturday, Coach Bobo was extremely proud of his team and their comeback victory.
I just saw it in there. I mean, they were challenged on Monday. Usually have a 15-minute meeting. It went 45. It was challenged. Then I told them where we're going from here. And they came out and practiced their tail off on Monday, and then on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday. And we go a fast Friday, and they practice fast on Friday. I just said, hey, the preparation's in. You might not know this saying, hay's in the barn. You know what that means? That means the work is done. We did the work this week. So all we got to do is go play and have some fun. And that's what our guys did. And as I'm walking up and down that sideline, and players are just, we believe, Coach. We believe. Kept hearing it. And they believe because they did it in practice. That's why they had the belief they could get it done, because they felt they did something that week. Hayes in the barn. You learned something, didn't you?
Coach Bobo announced that they still have work to do this week, but from the momentum they had from the win, this could be a huge turning point for CSU. Bobo also announced that Ronnie Letson will be making the calls again this weekend when they travel to the Swamp. This weekend's game did consist of returns from junior running back Marvin Kinsey and redshirt sophomore running back Rashad Body, but on the sidelines was Warren Jackson and Richard King. In the press conference today, Bobo did announce that Jackson should return to practice today, but King is still questionable for return. CSU will be in Gainesville this Saturday to take on Florida at noon Mountain Time.
Head coach Tom Hilbert and his ladies flew to Michigan this past weekend for the Michigan Challenge and flew back still warm but not quite as hot as they had planned. Friday's opponent, LSU, fell in 3 sets to a barrage from Brianna Runnels and Christy Hillier, who tallied 15 and 10 kills respectively. On Saturday, the Rams continued the barrage, tallying 50 kills in a 3-1 set score victory over Oakland. Runnels, Jessica Jackson, and Hillier all had double-digit kills, but it was Hillier's night as she tallied a match-leading 13 kills and 8 blocks of a team total 14. The Rams were rolling into Sunday, but came up against an efficient Michigan that had a home crowd and revenge for last year on their mind. The Rams played the net well, recording 11 blocks and attacking at a respectable .202 hitting percentage, but Michigan played stellar defense and was deadly efficient with the home crowd, recording 43 kills on just 96 attempts. The Wolverines swept the Rams, something the Rams did in reverse a year prior, almost to the day. A young volleyball team that carries no seniors and more underclassmen than upper has now fought through 34 sets during 9 matches, and rather opposite from the football team, have played as close to expectations as one could expect from such a young team. 3 losses to tough opponents, number 8 Illinois, number 19 Michigan, and a Cincinnati team that is receiving votes in the polls, and turn over the coin and you'll find 6 wins that remind fans and future opponents alike why this team has won the Mountain West with remarkable consistency and reached the NCAA tournament in 21 consecutive seasons. The Rams have one more weekend of non-conference play before the remaining Mountain West schedule and are ready to make it count, especially when they travel to Boulder on Saturday evening to face their biggest rival, the CU Buffs, at 6. The Rams also face Portland State in Boulder earlier in the day at noon and take on Indiana State on Friday night at 6 in Moby Arena.
The CSU soccer team began their weekend on Friday against Eastern Washington University. The Rams started down when Eastern Washington's midfielder Brittany Delridge took a shot in the early 22nd minute off of a rebound shot when the goalie stepped out of the net and found herself giving the Eagles their first goal of the game. The Rams continued to make shots on goal with their forwards, but the defense found themselves falling short to EWU. Hannah Gurdon found herself taking shots on EWU's goalie and was unable to hit the back of the net, and CSU switched goalies in the second half and gave Gabby McDonald a shot with the gloves, but Brooke Dunbar, Eastern Washington's forward, was able to knock in another goal in the 86th minute against the Rams to give Eastern Washington a lead, 2-0. The Rams were unable to come back from their loss on Friday, but their game on Saturday did not lack of effort. CSU took on Grand Canyon University from home, where the Lopes gave CSU a penalty kick in the 12th minute of the game, where Kaylee Lordman was able to bring up the Rams by 1. The PK would be Lordman's second goal of the season and the only goal for both teams in the game. The Rams kept freshman goalie Gabby McDonald in the game, and she was able to make 5 saves in her first collegiate shutout. GCU was not easy on her when Mackenzie Cook took a huge run down the side of the right field for McDonald to make a save to prevent GCU from scoring. The Rams were able to hold the win and advance their season to 2 wins, 2 losses, and 2 ties to beat GCU 1-0. After the game, CTV soccer reporter Kyle Witter was able to catch up with head coach Bill Hempen about the win.
Hi, I'm Kyle Witter with CTV Sports. I'm here with Coach Bill Hempen of the CSU women's soccer team. Coach, this game was a lot more offensive than last game. What changed between then and here?
Yesterday's practice. No, we've spent a lot of time in front of the goal the past really couple of weeks, so we're just starting to, it all starts with the defense. The defense was outstanding, winning it to get it into the attacking third. So, I credit the defense for the fact that we had more offense. And then again, like I said, we've been spending a lot of time in front of the goal the past few weeks.
Absolutely. And looking ahead to Thursday, you guys are playing Gonzaga. Gonzaga has a record of 3-1 with 1 draw. This is a team, or what will you be focusing on as you prepare for this match later the week?
We've never played Gonzaga before, and we're in the process of trying to figure them out. So we'll celebrate this one, and then we'll watch some film on Gonzaga starting tomorrow, because I'm not doing anything else the rest of the day.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Okay.
I'm Kyle Witter with Coach Bill Hempen. I'm signing off for CTV Sports.
Sorry.
The soccer team will have a break until Thursday when they take on Gonzaga at home.
The CSU men's golf team competed in the Carpet Capital Collegiate Tournament last weekend against some of the top teams in the country, including preseason number 2 Alabama. The Rams' first match of the season presented its fair share of challenges with top-tier competition and 60% humidity in the forest of northwestern Georgia at the Farm Golf Course. The Rams didn't leave a score for the record books in their first match of the 2018-19 collegiate golf season, but finished strong with a team posting of 7 under par Sunday that jumped them up 4 spots on the team leaderboard. Top Ram and freshman Bryan led the Rams this weekend, finishing at even par, capped with a strong 3 under on Sunday, as fellow Ram Cullen Pelosha III also posted a 3 under on Sunday and improved drastically over the weekend from his 10 over 82 on Friday. The Rams' final standing was 10th place at 17 over par, 38 strokes back of tournament winner Tennessee. The Rams' second tournament of the year will be at the local Ram Masters Invitational in Fort Collins Country Club on September 17th and 18th. The field has 18 teams, headlined by CSU's biggest rivals, the CU Buffs and Wyoming Cowboys, along with other in-state opponents, Northern Colorado and Denver University.
Well, Ram fans, that is all the recaps we have for you right now, but don't go anywhere, because when we come back, Litos Castro will give you a look into what's coming up this week in CSU sports. And later in the show, we'll sit down with Eddie Hertz and Mac Bulliu of the Rocky Mountain Collegian, along with Ray McGowan of KCSU.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Welcome back, Rams. I'm Litos Castro, here to give you your rundown of what's to come up for this week in CSU sports. So, without further ado, let's get started. We're going to start off by taking a look at your soccer team. They've got 2 games this week coming up. They're going to start on Thursday, taking on their first-time opponents, Gonzaga, right here at the CSU soccer fields. That game is going to begin at 4 in the afternoon. And then on Sunday, they're going to have quite a tough opponent, SMU. They are 4-1-1. It's going to be a tough game for them. That game begins at noon right here, again, at the CSU soccer field. We're going to keep it moving. Next up, we have your volleyball team. They're going to have 3 games this week coming up. On Friday, they're going to have their first one. They're going to be taking on Indiana State. That game's going to be at Moby Arena beginning at 6 in the evening. And then on Saturday, they're going to be traveling to Boulder for a 2-game day. The first game is going to be against Portland State, and that one's going to begin at noon. And then they're going to take on their rivals for their second game beginning at 8 in the evening. That's going to be a big day for them. Going to need some support out there. And then finally, to top it off, we're going to be looking at your football team. After a huge comeback win, they're going to look to keep that flow going as they travel to Gainesville, Florida to take on the Gators. It's going to be a big game for them as they head down there. That game is going to begin at 2 p.m. Eastern Time or noon if you're right here in Colorado. That's all the sports we have for you this week. But don't go anywhere. Ryan is going to be sitting down with a few guests when we come back. Hey!
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Are listening to 90.5 KCSU Fort Collins with DJ Meanbeat,
DJ Nightshade,
DJ Wildcard. Music to me is
one of the best creative outlets that I can think of.
an escape from the real world.
Music to me is an expression of love.
To go from like folk to hip hop to like classic rock, 1960s bossa nova. With music, there's like no boundaries.
I work here because I love music, and you do too.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. Already posted it.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Welcome back. I am now joined by the Rocky Mountain Collegians' Eddie Hers, Mac Bolu, and KCSU's Ray McGowan to talk about this CSU football team that is scratching heads. Guys, just 2 days ago, we all witnessed this Rams team put together an impressive comeback that very few souls were brave enough to believe in before it actually happened. One of the reasons it materialized was big play after big play from QB KJ Carter-Samuels to wide out Preston Williams. I still find my mouth open thinking about that bobbled touchdown to make it 24-27, but I'm sure there's a hot take on what they can do for the rest of the season between the three of you.
Yeah, no, plain and simple, just starting with Preston Williams, I think he's honestly a man against boys out there. You know, he's 6'4", 210 pounds, and he can move. All that screams his NFL caliber potential. Within his 154 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns against Arkansas, he really put all of his talents on display. Red zone presence, catch and run ability, obviously the athleticism and coordination within that crazy bobbling catch you mentioned. Preston Williams and KJ Carter-Samuels have developed a relationship, already 27 connections between the two this season. Expect KJ to keep relying on Preston as the season goes on.
Yeah, I like how you talked about that relationship only getting stronger as the season goes on.
I mean, I guess my take on it is that, you know, we know that they have a great connection at this point. It's what else they can do, because when you shut that down, you know, where are the Rams going to go? They kind of shut down Preston a little bit. CU did. He only had 6 catches for 49 yards. If another good team does that to us, where else are we going to go? So they got to get the running game started, the short pass game, spread the ball around.
Definitely.
Well, obviously you talked about how KJ Carter-Samuels has a great relationship with Preston Williams, but also another wide receiver was Cameron Butler, also had over 100 receiving yards that game as well. So it proves that the offense in terms of the passing game not only has Preston Williams, who's a fantastic player, but also plenty of other weapons like Cameron Butler and OBC Johnson that KJ can go to as well. So at this point, you're just wondering where the run game goes, especially since they got 2 players back this game, and yet nothing was able to come from it. But luckily, KJ Carter-Samuels, as well as the receiving core, was able to pull this one out. Yeah,
that relationship between not only KJ and Preston, but the rest of the team is going to have to develop if this offense wants to continue to have success. I like what you mentioned, Mac, there. Against CU, they shut him down, and we saw what happened with the Rams offense. Didn't go very well. Now, a big part of why this team seems to have why this team seemed to have turned a corner was defensive play against Arkansas. Interceptions, sacks, third down stands were all in the repertoire for these guys. Plain and simple, is this something we can expect going forward, or was this kind of a one-time thing?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily something to expect going forward, but something to point out that we actually talked about earlier was the fact that the Rams had the opportunity to take advantage of film for the first time this season. You know, Hawaii came out week 1 with the run and gun offense that they haven't used for years, so there's no relevant film for the Rams to study there. Obviously, CSU was flustered by that, as teams have been against Hawaii. Against Boulder, I mean, that was their first game of the season. Obviously, they still have Montez at quarterback, but a lot of new offensive schemes and weapons. It's not to say that having film will fix everything for the defense, but it definitely made a difference, and Jordan Fogle and a lot of the Rams defense did mention that in the postgame.
Yeah, I was there with you. Jordan Fogle was really set on the film was a big difference maker for these guys.
Yeah, with the third downs and getting down the field so quickly, I kind of wonder if they've embraced bend but don't break mentality, which I think would really play to, well, not necessarily their strengths, but their weaknesses, because they don't have that much depth. So if guys are kind of more concentrated at stopping the ball where it really matters, I think that helps CSU.
Right?
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, defense from the past previous games, of course, has been absent, if anything. And like you said, they did have film to take advantage of. And, of course, afterwards, during the postgame conference, Mike Bobo had a plan to go ahead and shut down their passing game and have them establish their run and eventually stop that. It was obvious that they were able to stop down the passing game because eventually they had to bring in their backup quarterback, Cole Kelly, and during the second half because they shut down Ty Story. And even though the defense didn't do, I would say, an exceptional job at stopping the run game for Arkansas, eventually they caught up, and eventually they made important stops at the game that allowed the offense to start getting momentum and start making that comeback later on in the fourth quarter. 6 yards per gain isn't something pretty, but if you get the perfect stops at the right time, you can come back and win any kind of football game.
I like what you mentioned, getting stops at the right time. The defense last year, when they came up big and they won big games, it seemed like that's what was happening, is when the defense was getting stops at the right time. The Swamp. It's a name that has been rightfully earned, and as Coach Bobo said earlier today, it feels like it's 200 yards long, not 100. I'm liking the CSU momentum and the confidence these players showed Saturday night, but just like last year against Alabama, it seems like sometimes the other guys are just too big and too fast.
I would agree with that. I personally don't think Florida is that talented of a team. They went 4-7 last year. They came off a pretty embarrassing loss to Kentucky. But with that being said, I think the Rams get them at an unfortunate time. If you take that loss into consideration, mixed with the fact that I'm sure Florida saw the Rams come through with a monumental upset against Arkansas, another SEC opponent, have the fans storm the field, that's just reason to have Florida be hungry and be more motivated. They open as 20-point favorites for good reason. I'm not going to say Florida's that great of a team. I think CSU can hang around, but Florida's quarterback likes to run. They have a stout defense, 16th in the league in rushing defense last year, so we'll see.
Could be rough.
Yeah.
Again, I think protection defense could help against that. CSU isn't going to instantly become better athletes. But like Eddie said, Florida's offense usually isn't that strong. Even when they're really good, it's more of a running game. So we'll have to address that again. Obviously, we can't allow 6 yards per rush, or we're not going to win most games.
It could be bad if that happens again. Ray, how about you?
Of course, as you said earlier, Florida's coming off an embarrassing loss against Kentucky, and luckily the CSU Rams have the ability to take advantage of that and have the momentum on their side, just beating Arkansas, who's also in the SEC, just like Florida. However, for the first time, they're going into enemy territory where there's not going to be any kind of support. It's going to be completely new, something completely different over in Gainesville, and something that's hopefully going to happen is you can see some kind of consistency from the CSU offense. This is the second game in a row where we saw Colin Hill come in for at least one series and unable to do anything with it, and then bring back KJ Carter-Samuels. So seeing that kind of consistency on offense in terms of getting the ball rolling and seeing them actually score on these drives is something that's really helped the CSU offense out. And stopping, of course, those 6 games runs is something that help improve them exponentially. It's going to be a tough game, but it's going to be interesting to see how they do, especially away in Gainesville.
I like what you said there about how it's their first true road game. Coach Bobo commented on it earlier today in his press conference and mentioned that There's a lot of guys from this team last year who went to Alabama who know the experience, and he's hoping that they kind of coach up and remind some of the younger guys what it's going to be like so that the lights aren't too big. But Mac, you also pointed out Felipe Franks running quarterback. That's dangerous. CSU was successful last week, but they didn't face a running quarterback, and that's what hurt them in the first 2 weeks. So we'll see if this defense really fixed all their problems or just kind of patched them up a little bit. I'm excited for next week in this football team. It's definitely going to be a good game to watch. As you said, Eddie, they're definitely going to stay in it. They have an offense that can do it for sure.
Absolutely.
That's all we have for you guys tonight. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.